everyone's probably a little tired and a little sick of hearing people talk. So I talk really fast to get through a huge amount of content today, so hopefully that will keep you awake. We want to talk about social media success and how you can use social media for your business. There is a lot to know, and it's going to back up a lot of what you've just heard the previous speaker say. There's a lot of synergies with what we say about how to approach marketing for your business. I am going to give you a lot of information and the touch points for you to decide, is that something I want to learn more about? But what we're going to get to at the end is the crux of it. I want to give you a content calendar that you can maybe take away and go, this is how I can start if I'm wanting to use social media. This is how I can tweak what I am currently doing. So when we are looking at social media and we're working towards being successful, as opposed to just doing it because that's what everyone else is doing, we want to have a look at the people. Who are we talking to? Why are we doing social? Who is it that we're trying to connect with? What's our purpose for being on there? For most of you, it's going to be to ensure the longevity of your organisation, your business, and what protocols are we going to put in place for the activities that we do undertake on there. So we're going to look at, for tips to work towards those three overarching objectives, we're going to have a look at the state of social media so you understand the space that you are in, strategy, storytelling, and scheduling. Obviously that is not everything that is involved with social. So the state of social media, how do we feel about that space? Do we understand it? Are we comfortable using it? Do we know why it's so important and prevalent in this day and age? You need to know the game that you're playing. So here's a few opportunities for you. There are a huge variety of platforms available. You are often one person or a small team. I don't know the sizes of all of your practices, but you can't be on everything. So you need to be very strategic in deciding where do you want to be. Platforms come, platforms go, but how you use them doesn't actually change that much. Okay, so some key data for you to contemplate. 8 out of 10 people are using social media. If you are trying to attract an audience, as in patients, if you are trying to attract staff, the right type of people to work for you, they are more than likely spending time on social media. They are not necessarily coming to look at your website. Okay, the largest social platform is still Facebook, and Facebook owns the second largest platform, which is still Instagram. Snapchat is up there, Twitter is up there, LinkedIn, as you can see, these are the slightly larger ones. I will be very interested to see, I believe, probably by the end of this year, TikTok is going to be on that. Google Plus is dead, don't worry about it, it's gone. One less thing for you to you don't have to pay attention to that one, but something else just takes its place. So usage by age. Often when we're talking about the people component that I mentioned at the beginning, we think that an older demographic is not using social media. We would be wrong. The 65 plus age bracket, nearly 50% of them are currently using social media, and they are the fastest uptake age bracket, meaning they are signing up for accounts on Facebook in particular at a faster rate than any other age demographic. Okay, our 18s to 29s, or actually probably more so our under 18s, you will hear me say that they're not really on Facebook, they're more your Instagram and your Snapchat. However, because Facebook owns Instagram, if you want to run ads on Instagram, you have to have a Facebook account. So if you're an 18, 19-year-old starting your first job and you're charged with running ads, you've basically got to go on a Facebook account so that you can do that. 64% of consumers are more likely to trust you if you interact positively on social media. Positive interaction, not selling. We'll dive into that a little bit further. So ask yourself what platforms you're using and know that you need to go away and do a better assessment. Am I using the right one to talk to the people that I want to talk to? So that's the state of social. It's big, it's huge, it's fast, it changes very rapidly. The second thing we need to have is strategy. There's no point in being on social media if you don't know your who, what, when, where, why, and how. Why are we there? What does it look like? So for strategy, I always go through it's just the pieces of the puzzle. Here are the pieces that I think you need to consider. Again, I'm not going to dive into them in great depth, but I want you to have that bigger picture look at them. Actionable goals, target audience, measurable metrics, tools and resources to help you on there, Attraction strategies, how do I get more of the people that I want, whether it's staff, whether it's clients, and monitoring and response. We can't just publish content, we need to interact, which means we need to monitor and respond. Actionable goals. Do you know what you're hoping to achieve and how you are going to achieve them? Your target audiences. Just because you have a following doesn't mean they are the right people. Who do you want to be connected with? If you could have a room full of 20 people that are perfect for your practice, what do they look like? And then we go about doing profiles on them and then going to find more people who look like that on social media. How do you know if you're successful? What are you measuring? I'll give you two ones here. Reach and engagement are usually the top two metrics to start off with on social media. Tools and resources. There is a huge amount of them out there. You've seen in the previous presentation some of the tools that you can use to merge your practice software with social media. There's also social media specific apps. So there's photography apps, there's graphic design apps, there's scheduling apps, there's content curation apps, content creation apps, and platforms. There's all sorts of things out there. You need to decide which ones are going to work for you and just have a very small toolkit that is efficient and effective. Attraction strategies. How do we get more people to come across to our platforms? It needs to be a strategic decision. If I want new clients to find out about me, I can't just go and publish what I feel like on any given day of the week on there. I need to have a targeted approach, a strategic approach, and there are specific techniques that you can use to attract people on social media. Example, I'll just give you one of the big ones, a competition. And competition, often you think about that the wrong way as well. That's just gamification. How can I make it fun and engaging for someone? You don't have to have a Thermomix to give away. You don't have to have a car to give away. You can make it a competition simply by who can be the first person to tell me the name of this celebrity in the blurry photo at the event that I was at on the weekend. People are naturally competitive and you can use that. Monitoring and response. So we do need to monitor. We often forget when we are in business that the information out there about us is not only what we put out there. So we forget to see what are other people saying about us that we're not privy to because they're not telling it directly to us. So a huge part of what we do on social is monitor our brand reputation, monitor our industry experience so that we can adapt and change. We need to know what other people are saying about podiatry, about podiatrists, about the training of students, about the NDIS program. All of that sort of stuff, we want to do that, and we can do that through social media. Told you I was talking fast. So, the next element is storytelling. And the key component here is that storytelling can lead to story selling. You will make more sales normally by telling great stories than you will by doing a hard sell. What is the fundamental pain point of people with storytelling? I'll get to that in a second. So, there's 4 elements that I like to consider, and I do individual training on these for storytelling. Science, structure, techniques, and types. The first one, the most important thing to remember is information is static, story is dynamic. Humans do not respond to the static anywhere near as well as they do to the dynamic. There is neurological studies, you're more medically related than me, but dopamine is released when you're telling stories. When humans are hearing a story, they take it as true. When you give them information, they're going to put up their barricades. Okay, so there is a lot of science to it. Narratives, we interpret as being real. That's why you need to do story. Structure, how do we actually write a story? Most of us have probably gone and done a science degree and then a podiatry degree, and at no time in there do we have to write pretty stories. So it's certainly a skill set that we might want to go back and have a look at. I'm a big fan of 3-act structures. If I say to you, stop, drop and roll, stop, look, listen, 3 blind mice, so much of our life, so much of the story around us is broken down into the rule of 3s, and there are a whole raft of 3-act structures that you can learn to tell. Fundamentally, they are before, after, and a bridge. What is the world like with the problem? What is the world like after we've resolved the problem? How did we get there? That's pretty much most stories. Different iterations, but they all sort of come down to that 3-act structure. Learn how to do that. Whether it is in one post, this is what your life is like with this medical condition. This is what your life can be like once it's been fixed. Here is how we go about doing that. And this is the why as well of what we do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yep. You're going to see 3s everywhere now. Okay, so then we've got techniques. So things like character development, setting the plot, scene setting, all of that. I don't need you to be brilliant storytellers, but if you do stop and think, when I read something, what makes it resonate for me? They've eased into it slowly and set the scene and drawn me in. The same thing applies on social media. Or I'm more of a thrill seeker. I want to go for the hard, fast, sharp, let's get to the action right at the beginning. You can structure your storytelling on social the same. Okay, there are 4 post types, 4 stories that you can tell on social media. Every single piece of content could be easily broken down and put into these 4 categories. Vision and values, education, engagement, and product and brand. Which one do you think everyone does the most of? Product and brand. Because we're running a business, so we need to sell. And we forget that we can only sell to people who want to buy from us. The other 3 set the scene for them having the relationship with you. Vision and value style post. They are show, don't tell. Show people what you believe in. Show people the lifestyle that you want to help them live because you're doing it yourself. Your kids are doing it. Your staff are doing it. Speak to your values. Don't tell people you should recycle. Take a photo of your team meeting where you can see all of the recycling set up in your staff room. Show, don't tell. It's no good if we have to tell people, I believe in this. We want to show it and they can interpret it themselves. So there's just an example. You guys can have this slide deck of how Livin', which is a not-for-profit, feeling a little down about Monday tomorrow. Don't forget, Monday brings a new week with new opportunities. No better day to start living. And it's got Monday, Monthslay. Who said Mondays have to suck? Be a rebel, have a great day. They're a mental health organisation. They're just showing people that they understand them. They're not writing, we understand you. They're showing them in their humour. Okay, then we've got an education style post. You've got a lot that you can educate people on, and your natural inclination is going to be to go for podiatry education. That's okay, but you don't have to only educate people on that. This is creating connection. If you are the first person to tell them about this amazing new app that can help them sort their shoes when they're travelling, then that's still related to what you do, but it's something not specifically podiatry related. So education style posts are just designed to give people something that they go, wow, that was valuable, I learned something. Positive connection to you. This is KidSafe WA, anyone familiar with them? No? Yeah, safety, so they do home, road and school, I think. Home, road and playground it is. So this is a poll on Facebook where you can put up 2 options. And it says, which of these images is an example of an anchorage point for a child car restraint? So totally in their wheelhouse because they do car safety. Make your vote by selecting. So option A and option B. The majority of people have said option A. That's actually incorrect. That's a luggage anchor point. And so then they got to educate them. They had only 400 or 500 followers. And this post has reached, at the time that I did the screen capture, nearly 2,500. So well above what you could have expected because it got engagement on it. People were commenting going, but I need to know now, because they left it run for a couple of weeks. And most people were actually wrong. So off the back of that, they do car seat fitting. So if people aren't attaching their car seats to the right thing, they're probably going to go, wow, I need to go in and actually have a car seat fitting. Okay, then we've got engagement. So the one that I said before, attraction strategies, a competition, engagement is designed to get top of funnel marketing. How do we get new people, cold leads, to find out about us? Because we don't want to just keep talking to the same people all the time, we need to talk to new people. So engagement style posts are designed to be top of funnel. You will have seen, if you've gone on anywhere on the internet or on social media, there can be a lot of the negative ways that this is used. That sort of spammy stuff, the clickbait, that's the real negative side of it. don't go to that, but go to the fun I'm hip. So here's a tweet that came out from CSIRO. And I saw it, and I can tell you, I don't watch reality television. But if I turn on the TV at any stage, you see enough of it to go, I never need to watch it because my brain's already died. That said, if you watch reality television, that's totally okay. So this tweet went out about an hour and a half after the honey badger guy, whose name I have since learnt is Nick, did not choose a winner. So apparently he had 2 females, he was meant to choose which one, and he chose none. CSIRO, very serious scientific organisation, tweets, fun fact, honey badgers live alone in self-dug holes. This is how you create a connection to your audience. So because this is my space, at the time that I saw it, it had like 20 retweets and a few likes, and I was like, oh, this is good. I love puns and this type of thing. So I then went back 2 weeks later, it was 440 retweets, 1,500 likes. I scrolled through about 6 months worth of their tweets. This is well and truly the most engaging post that they've ever done in 6 months. Okay, and they've done some more in that sort of style sense. Have we seen ones like that? That concept, it makes you stop because you know, and particularly if your target audience are reality television watchers, they know that you're in their space, that you understand them. It's that little secret connection. So engagement style posts, top of funnel, you get people to your page who wouldn't normally go there, and then you convert them with one of the other style posts. You take them through the funnel. And then you get to the end, which is your product event, and I'm sorry, that graphic isn't actually good, but this is a flow chart to help you pick which moon pie flavour you should eat, and basically no matter what decision or life choice it is, there's a flavour for you. Okay, so it's a fun, engaging way. So even when it is product and brand, social media, the key word is social. Don't be too boring, don't be too professional, and I always say professional is often code for boring, basic and bland. That doesn't work on social media. Okay, so they're the 4 post types. So that's all in storytelling. Then we've mentioned previously, you need to schedule. Okay, so when you bulk do a chore, it takes a lot less time. If I'm walking into the office or the practice every day, I'm like, I need to think of a social media post and I've got to put it up. It might take me 15, 20 minutes. And I'm going to do that every day. I can do a whole week's worth in 20 minutes if I sat down and went, what's my approach? How can I do this? What can I get out there? So we want to learn about how to schedule. Saves time and sanity. This is Facebook. I'm going to stick predominantly with Facebook because that's the one we most use. When you go to write a post, there's an option down the bottom. You used to be able to click on here and it would say schedule. They took it away from you about 2-3 months ago. But you need to go to something called publishing tools. You all have it if you are the admin of a page. When you are in as admin, it's decided it's Friday, it wants to go home. Across the top, only the admin get the white bar, and on the more you drop down, it's called publishing tools. When you are in there, oops, now it goes too far. When you're in there, on the right-hand side, you can see the create. That's where you can create a post and put a specific date that you want it to go out. So you don't have to publish straight away. Okay, if you're using mobile, and I recommend that most of your strategy and planning a lot happens from a computer because there's a lot more features and functions available. But if you're on the go, once you've got the hang of things and you do want to do something from your mobile, if you're doing Facebook, use the Pages app, the white one with the orange flag. It means you will only act as your page and you can keep everything associated with the page instead of switching between yourself and the page in the normal Facebook app. Okay, there's other apps there, obviously, this is just a screen capture of my main ones. Okay, you can schedule to Facebook in the app. Go to write the post, write copy here, choose your photo. When will this be published? Instead of clicking on the blue publish, click on the when will this be published, and then choose your date and time and schedule your done. Oh no, I'm making up time. So, scheduling how to. I work with 3 content calendars. I'm showing you 2 of them today. The first one that I do is yearly content calendar. I can plan out most of what I'm going to discuss in a year. I've got a bigger picture of this. I'll show you. And I'll give you a copy. I've created it in Excel and you will get that sent out to you if the team have your email address. So what I've done here is put the months across the top, and there's 3 areas that I want to sort of ask myself about. What's the theme? This is when I want to come up potentially with a theme per month. What are the subtopics that I can discuss in that month? And what are the hashtag holidays? And you're all going, what the heck are hashtag holidays now? So we've all seen it's International Chocolate Day, it's Valentine's Day, it's Are You OK Day, it's World Diabetes Day. Most people share that content as a crutch. I don't know what to post, so I'm going to jump on the bandwagon and share someone else's content as a filler. Do not do that. You need to predetermine which hashtag holidays, International Chocolate Day, World Diabetes Day, whatever, is actually meaningful to the space that I'm in and meaningful to my clients, customers, patients. And pre-decide and pre-create your content. If World Diabetes Day is important to you, then create video content showing you treating a diabetic foot. If World Chocolate Day is important to you, show that your team have had chocolate cupcakes that morning and how it was an opportunity to come together and connect and take some time out. Not just a, let's use a boring graphic that 50,000 other people are using and say Happy World Chocolate Day. Does that make sense? Make it meaningful, predetermined, put them in your calendar and do not use them as a crutch. So, the themed approach. I've totally just made this up this afternoon. So I've gone in January, oh, Siri's telling me she doesn't understand. In January, I've gone with children's feet. My husband says that to me all the time, I don't know. Children's feet as a theme. What can I talk about to do with children's feet? Perhaps I can talk about taking first steps, explaining to parents what that means, what the foot's doing, how are the bones going, how's their skin coping. I can talk about starting daycare. What are considerations for if they're starting daycare? School, starting school for the first time, going for your school shoe fitting. Sport, I can talk about anything to do with children's feet but come up with themes. So then I've got a topic for each week with an overarching theme of children's feet. Jump across to March and I've put sport as a theme. Okay, I want to talk about sport and how it impacts on the foot. Running, dancing, netball, football, plantar fasciitis, and I wasn't even sure if I spelled that right. So I can talk about those sub sort of topics related to the overall theme. Medical conditions, special events. If I want to talk about that, I can talk about weddings, school balls, holiday, travel. How does our foot health need to be considered in those situations? But I'm not going to people, hey, I want to talk about foot health. I'm going, hey, I want to talk about fashion. I want to talk about travel. And then I slip in the foot health component to it. Moving over, September, October, November, I've gone with skin could be our theme. I can talk about rashes and bunions. Or you know that I like gory stuff. Okay, and then October, maybe I want to talk about nerves as a theme. I don't even know if there's anything more than a pinched nerve that you could talk about, but like I said, I was stretching here. And then November, I've got bones. But you get the approach, right? You can theme your months. And then you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You can potentially do the same thing next year because you'll have new followers to the page. Even the followers that you currently have, not everyone sees your content. Okay, then we have the weekly calendar approach. And yes, I know this is tiny, I've made it bigger. Okay, so here, oops, it really doesn't like me. So here I've got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all the way through to Sunday. At the top, I've got Facebook, then this part is Instagram. So in my weekly calendar, I will write my copy. And so on Monday, I've got the shoes worn by, whatever, insert name here, on The Bachelor tonight, need to be put in the bin ASAP. Okay, and so I'll just leave that there. I'm not giving any more information than that. The next day, I'll put stilettos come with a higher price tag than you might imagine. The pressure from having all the weight concentrated in such a small area can So I'm carrying on. I'm doing my 3-act structure by telling part of the story each day. And then on Wednesday, I've got to keep your feet in tip-top shape for when you do want to wear a sometimes shoe. So I'm pushing my agenda that they should be a sometimes shoe, and I'm going to give them some tips there. So if they see the content on any one of those days, they might actually go looking for the other ones because they know that it's not a whole piece of content necessarily, but it stands alone enough that they can just look at that. So then I've got here, what is the objective out of the 4 types of posts? This one's an engagement post, this one's an education post, and then this one's a product and brand. I'm taking them down the funnel. I will also put there what time I'm going to schedule it, what image I'm going to use, where's the file that it's located, or a thumbnail of what the image is. And then down here for Instagram, it's the same concept. I like, Instagram's more lifestyle, so I've gone here with what a crowd at park run on the weekend. Whilst we were there to run, you know we couldn't help ourselves and may have shown a few kids how to do a lace lock on their running shoes. And then we use hashtags on Instagram to be more, we can find people, they can find us. So I've got some hashtag examples there for you. Does that make sense? Yes? Did your head hurt? Yeah. Oh no, it's not just me. So that's me wrapping up. So social media success comes from a strategic approach delivered with consistency, because an algorithm needs some form of consistency from you, with consistency and personality, because it is social. Even though we are there in a professional capacity, our audience is there in a social capacity. We need to meet in the middle. Any questions? Okay.
Guys, thank you so much. Anna was actually a volunteer director for a couple of years, and she really did a lot of wonderful work for us getting up to speed on social media, but we've still got lots to catch up on. So we really appreciate you coming and helping us out today. That was a great presentation. And thanks to Jonathan and Megan and Lisa as well. Hope you guys enjoyed today. Don't forget to sign out to get your CPD certificates. And also I'd like to thank the Knightley WA staff, in particular Karen and Katarina, and also Jen was here today. Jen is a volunteer director sitting down the back. She hasn't been well, but she puts in a lot of effort for us. She's not a podiatrist, but she has brought some great outside skills to our board, and so we get a chance to Emma buy a glass of white wine one day. I don't think she's going to do that, but she's going to decline. But yeah, thanks to the guys for putting this together, and looking forward to seeing you at a few more events during the year. Send in any ideas, and we'll be getting an email out to you to get some feedback. So we want detail, we want the names of some presenters. Yeah, bring it on, okay? Yeah, we've got to sign out. Don't have to sign out. Yeah.